Brilliant job, Mrs. M. Isn't that fantastic? There you go. Bon voyage. Oh, she's just coming she's coming at me from every angle. Just wanted to share that with you this morning. How good is that? Tell you a bit more about that later on. She might tell you a bit more herself. You're gonna put some clothes on and join us. Excellent. Okay, let's have the official start to the show.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. A little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.
Hey, hola, bom dia, alegria, Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. Yes, bom dia, alegria. How are you this morning? Tudo bem? Como estás? Wow, what an evening last night. Oh, thank you, by the way, James, T Duck and Coach Turner for being here so far. Nice and early, fantastic. Great to see you this morning. And more joining us. Do say who you are. We're looking at dating. Marriage, relationships, that sort of thing this morning. And of course, on Happy Thanksgiving Day, I'd also like to see what you're thankful for. There's no harm, is there, in getting literal with these things? Happy Thanksgiving Day. What would you like to give thanks for this morning? Oh, typo. I would like to give thanks for being able to see that typo before lots more people see it this morning. Let me just change that. And while I'm about it, I can let you know what's happening after 9 this morning when Maria João Silva joins us. It's Indie Portugal Thursday. Now, the reason Maria João Silva joins us is because she has a kind of bit of an indie view of life, another side of life in Portugal. Is often the context within which we talk to her. And I thought, why don't we have a look at dating, relationships and marriage in Portugal? I'm not sure we've ever looked at the subject before. Traditional views, how it is these days for a modern Portuguese person trying to find or even avoid a mate in the current society. And then that led me on to looking at a few demographics in Portugal. And I've got some really good statistics, interesting statistics to bring you. And then when Maria João Silva joins us from 9, she'll be telling us about the reality of what that's like from her point of view. And I think she's got a pretty good grasp of some of the angles and aspects of Portugal, which we might not see as expats, immigrants and foreigners. Now, is there an acronym that I can use so I don't have to keep saying that whole mouthful? Foreigners, immigrants, expats, fee, IFE. We've got to think of something better than that, haven't we? If someone could work on that this morning, that would be fantastic. A nice acronym to describe all the different ways people describe themselves who are moving to Portugal, coming to live in Portugal. So there you go, dating, relationships and marriage. I want to tell you about what went on last night at that fantastic 60s. I thought I was going to be quite good at a 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s quiz. I was not. Quite embarrassing, really, but it was made better by being able to hang out with the wonderful Silver Coast volunteers, meeting one of my teammates who I'd not met before. Great to see you, Phil, Maria, Colin, and new friend Paul, who won awards for brewing beer. He had one or two of them himself last night at the Infusion Bar in Pinhal in Óbidos. There's the event. That was last night, Pinhal, Óbidos. I commend it to you if you're ever in the Óbidos area. You wouldn't see it necessarily. Oh, and well done, Óbidos Castle, talking about lighting up Christmas. You've already started there. Fantastic. But yeah, I recommend Infusion to you. There are rooms there as well. You can stay there, and it's a lovely, quirky little cafe. Great atmosphere, brilliant hosting of the event last night, and we did very poorly, I have to say. Here are the winning team from last night's 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s quiz. Aren't they fantastic? I think they called themselves Santa's Little Quizzers. Those were the people next to us. These were the four Topsies. I think they called themselves. But anyway, there they are. Very, very happy to have won the first prize. They were very good. They were very good and very noisy as well. And I stepped forward because I wanted to have a selfie with them. But if you look at that picture, you'll see Colin has photobombed that one. And I think he's also in my selfie. There he is. He's in the background of that one as well. But look at, they're so happy, aren't they? The ladies who won the quiz last night. Great fun. And they very kindly, Colin introduced me to the whole room. And I was like, thank you, Colin, for doing that. And it might be that we host a wine tasting there, which sounds like fun. And they asked me to draw the raffle. So great stun from start to finish. I mean, great fun from start to finish. No farting, honestly. And let me just tell you, it really got me, it connected me to the spirit of Christmas. And now I'm a bit embarrassed to say that because I don't really like to have any talk of Christmas certainly until December, and then preferably not until a month from now. Christmas Eve is soon enough, is it not, to talk about Christmas? But we will be doing Light Up Christmas, Obidosh Castle, really getting you in the mood if you drive past there. You'll see it from the motorway, from the A8, I believe. I couldn't help but be drawn into the wonder of Christmas last night, and maybe we can get into the great side of Thanksgiving, that, you know, how people get together, how people share food, how people give thanks for what is good and great in their life, and maybe attend to what isn't so good and great in their and other people's lives, and see what we can do to help people. That is the spirit of these occasions, is it not? Can we connect with that? I know we also, as a smart bunch of people, we connect with the reasons why we don't like these things very easily, don't we? Don't like it because of this, don't like it because of that. It's not really this, it's not really that anymore. Blah, 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 marketing, capitalism, yeah. But I'm trying to get rid of the frizz on my headphones as well while I'm saying this to you. I think we're smart enough to be able to cope. It's a bit like the World Cup. Yes. There are questionable things about the World Cup, but there's also amazing football being played. We can contemplate and manage these two things at the same time, can't we? So Christmas and Thanksgiving. What's great about Thanksgiving for you? What are you grateful for today? Are you looking forward to Christmas? Because if you're not, I think this might help.
Everybody's having fun.
Come on, even the coldest, stone-hearted people will have been moved a little bit like that by that, right? On the Christmasometer. Oh, that was fantastic. And there was Paul, who I met last night, singing his heart away, singing his heart out there. On the screen for you. So well done, Silver Coast volunteers. I think you raised about €400 last night for the charities that you support, and I'm told the buzz is as good as that at every one of their gatherings. So if you're a Silver Coast person or you're in town, make sure you coincide with a Silver Coast volunteer gathering, because they know how to have fun. Other volunteer groups, expat groups, foreigners, immigrants are available around the country. And you know me, if you've got something going on, and it's all for charity, mate, a good cause, even a good crack, do let me know. I know that the ladies at the Silver Coast Volunteers have promised to come and tell us about when they're doing stuff, and they'll come onto the show and let us know what's going on. So looking forward to that. Who's in this morning? Who's joined? The illustrious gentleman. Rugby Colin is here, the man who photobombed most of those pictures that you saw just now. Excellent night. Thank you for your effort and support. Well, my effort was poor, let's face it, Colin, wasn't it? I think you had me as some kind of super sub, didn't you, to come and win the quiz and answer all the questions. But we struggled with that bit of it. We still had a lot of fun, though, didn't we? We had a lot of laughs last night. But I was so delighted to be there. And thank you, Colin, for your invitation. If anyone else wants to invite me out and try and get me drunk and sing Christmas carols, you got the number. It's on the screen right there. What's this? Oh, okay. A dad joke from you, Anubianette. Very good. I was going to save that for later on alongside the other dad jokes for this morning. And maybe we will try those out on Maria João Silva. Oh, it's a little bit interesting, isn't it? To try out the humor on people who didn't grow up necessarily with a dad joke culture. Although that's not necessarily I'm sure dad jokes, there is a dad joke phenomenon in Portugal. There's bound to be, isn't there? Pull my finger, that sort of thing. I'm guessing is ubiquitous and universal. Sorry if you just spat your tea with me saying that. And do try that on somebody today. It's Thanksgiving. Lighten up a little bit, especially after all that turkey. Well, they don't eat sprouts, do you? the Americans. Do you eat sprouts, Americans? Please tell me more. You began yesterday telling us about Thanksgiving, and I think we were a little bit on the negative side. We said, let's balance it up this morning. Give me 3 things you're thankful for on Thanksgiving, okay? I was thinking to myself, I'll do this this morning, Thanksgiving. I'm not even American, but if you get a chance to give thanks, why wouldn't you? That the air on my face this morning, still raining. Should we have a look at our weather page? Still raining at the moment. 300 days of sunshine, 65 days of rain, it would appear, here in Portugal. But when I get out with the dogs in the morning, and I'm grateful to those buggers, basically, they are a mixed blessing, those 2 dogs, because they're a bit odd, Jimmy Choo and Peggy Poo, I have to tell you. But when I get out with them in the morning, I'm so grateful to them for having me go out of the house twice a day, and I'm sure Mrs. M is too. It is so lovely to feel the fresh air on my face in the morning. That is one thing I'm so grateful for. And I could hear a collared dove cooing, and I looked up at a lamppost, and there that collared dove was sitting there like my power animal this morning. Having enough money in my pocket. Last few days, I've been out and about in town, and I'm very grateful, I've got to say, for having enough money in my pocket to be able to buy a Portuguese lunch. I realized that is one of the things I really love about this culture, is the prato do dia and the cafe culture. And I am so grateful for that as well. And I'm grateful to you all, to this community, to the community last night, to the various Venn diagrammatical communities in which I find myself. No man is an island, are they? Although sometimes a man does wish he was. Very occasionally. I've been having a bit of that lately as well. But grateful to my family here, Mrs. M, our micro community, where it begins here at home and how that spreads out to the neighbours, to the street, to San Martinho de Porto. As I say that, going to Obidos last night, as I say that, I feel my heart expanding. So please tell me a few things that you're grateful for. 3 will do, but if once you get started, it's hard to stop, I think. But if you don't get started, you might not realize how grateful you are for some things. I think it's a very useful exercise. Thank you, Americans, for bringing it to our attention. Ian Turner, Coach Turner, bon dia, meus amigos, como estás? It's been a busy few weeks, so it's good to have some normality to my routine. Coach Turner, normal, what? Coffee, training and coaching on the agenda today. I see what you mean, back into some sort of routine there. Nice one, Coach Turner. And your God Squad tip of the day, leading nicely from that. I've been slowly changing my diet over the past few months. Is this a dad joke? Basically, reducing the amount of carbohydrates I eat is beginning to have a useful effect. 3 kilos lost so far. I'm guessing that's a loss. Unless you wanted to bulk up, and then you would eat the carbohydrates. But 3 kilos, you've lost 3 kilos. A couple more to go, you say. Did you see Bear Grylls talking about his former vegan days and how much steak he eats? I thought that was fascinating. Who was it who was talking to him? Who's that interviewer? Oh, I forget his name now. There's a little clip going around of Bear Grylls talking about eating steak every day. I have a couple more to go. By making it a gradual process, it's easier to manage and maintain and less stressful on the body. Yes, baby steps. Easy does it. Phil will be proud of you. The intention is to lose a bit of weight, and you're taking the baby steps to do it. Nice one, Coach Turner. It's not good, is it, when people get emotional immediately, dieting and stressed about their shape and their weight and stuff. It doesn't help. The baby steps and the easy does it routine, which is espoused constantly by Coach Turner here on the Good Morning Portugal show, is the way to go. In the God Squad spirit, I haven't given up anything else. Nice one, mate. I think, yeah, a lot of us could manage with a few fewer carbohydrates. Right, a little bit difficult in Portugal. Those lunches I mentioned, when you get chips and rice, but you don't have to eat the whole portion. You can share. And yesterday, oh my goodness, I ordered, what did I have yesterday at Bohemia at the meetup? Thank you, everybody, for coming to the meetup. Oh, and I've got to tell you about a wonderful artist who came along yesterday. Yes, actually, quite a lot of things I realize now that I have forgot to set up to tell you about. But I must tell you about Carrie Prestgard, who came along yesterday. A new person to our meetup, and she does the most amazing art. She knows Bordalo too, who we love to talk about and share the work of here on the Good Morning Portugal show. But she collects trash, rubbish, waste, plastic waste from the beach. As she says here on her Instagram, which I'll show you in just a moment because she's fantastic and her work's fantastic. And I'm hoping I can get my kids along to a workshop that she's running, I think today or tomorrow in the bay here at Salida de Porto. But she says we use as art as an educational tool to spread awareness about marine plastic pollution. We aim to Excuse me, I think I've got a bit of plastic pollution myself working its way through. We use art as an education. I'll do it again. We use art as an educational tool to spread awareness about marine plastic pollution. We aim to inspire through a positive and creative experience. What is that? Shutupandyoga.com, the modern yogi's guide to plastic-free life. I don't know if that's compared, if that's related with to what their art activities are. Shut Up and Yoga sounds interesting nonetheless, though. But let me just, I know I've digressed there already, haven't I? Because I was going to show you the weather. I'm not going to bother. Let's just safely assume it's wet outside and to stay indoors, or if you go out, take a brolly. That'll do, won't it, for the weather? Because this is actually much more important. This is beautiful work of Carrie Prescott and Asta Anderson, she collects garbage, trash, rubbish, plastic waste from the beaches of Cornwall, I believe, and Spain and Portugal. And then she creates the most beautiful things at home or in her studio and in schools. And you will see some of them here. She's an incredible artist, as is her artistic partner, Asta Anderson. And look at this. This is what they're picking up from the beaches of the world, or some of them anyway, some of the beaches of the world. And then look at this beautiful work here. Isn't that beautiful? So she was telling me they create the shapes by using old bits of trash. And, there'll be a cotton bud in there or a tooth flosser, a bit of plastic. And then you'll see in that image there, they're photographed and then they're set against a colourful background. And even the kids who make these alongside Carrie and Asta are then encouraged to sell the prints at the school and to raise money for marine pollution or anti-marine pollution organizations to help clean up the oceans. But isn't that wonderful? Celebrating nature by getting out into nature, cleaning up nature, and creating these beautiful things. They are exquisite. Look at that. Look at that sea creature. Part horse, part dragon, part mermaid, maybe. I'm not sure. But look at that. I think this work is absolutely beautiful. And she turned up yesterday at the meetup. We have the most amazing and interesting people turning up. We've got a Van Gogh lookalike as well. Not just Carrie, the artist, but John, shout out to you, who walked across the cafe and Milan shouted out to him, Van! He does a stunning resemblance. And we've got quite a few, haven't we? We've got Carl Hyde, who looks like Vladimir Zelensky. And now we've got a Van Gogh. Have we got any other lookalikes in our community? Do send photos if you do. Now, that was quite a digression, but I had to mention Carrie's work to you. Okay, Coach Turner's got a couple more kilos to go, and Slow and Steady will win that race. Oh, and Carlos is here. Carlos, great to see you here. Pete is in. Antonio F. Nubianet, of course. Rebel Mama's here this morning. Victoria, with a bit of gratitude, an attitude of gratitude this morning. Thank you. Mrs. M's about to join us, I think. Carlos, grateful for staying healthy through the pandemic. Grateful for our upcoming return to Portugal. And grateful for this wonderful community. Bless you, Carlos. Are you ready to come and join us, Mrs. M? Give me a thumbs if you're not. She's giving me a shrug. What am I supposed to do with a shrug? Oh, two thumbs. She's giving, I think they're thumbs. She's holding two of something up. She is so rude. Before I bring you on, Mrs. M, could you do that again so I could just take my own personal screenshot of it? There, I got her. Gotcha.
I should have fallen for that. I shouldn't have fallen for that. I should have known what you were going to do.
Know me better by now. Garvo is here as well. A round of applause for you.
Why?
Nice warm hand on your opening. And
thank you.
You hear my gratitude? A bit?
No. I didn't.
I was grateful for our family and for you. Now,
really?
we're talking about dating.
You might want to tell your face.
She's in fighting fit form this morning.
Do you know what? I think it's the delirium of tiredness. Okay. I think that's what it is. Like that sort of like level of exhaustion that you sometimes have.
Yes.
I feel slightly. What is it you say happens to old people? They
end up in an old folks' home.
No, when they become unguarded.
They sometimes pass wind without realizing.
They become very unguarded.
Oh, I see what you mean.
I'm feeling very, very unguarded. It's almost like they stop giving a crap what people think. I'm feeling very unguarded.
Yes, I noticed right from the get-go.
And also a little bit sort of exhausted, and I think the two of them together is. I feel like I'm running on empty at the minute, but hey,
okay.
I'm sure most people here are, aren't they?
Okay.
Actually, not. A lot of people are retired and having.
Yes.
It's
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's Thanksgiving. I must also send a message to all my clients today.
Okay. Aren't you glad you popped in and got reminded about that this morning?
Happy Thanksgiving to all those who are celebrating it.
Okay.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because some people get really grumpy when you remind them about it.
What about Thanksgiving?
Yeah, lots of people.
I've already dealt with that. I've already dealt with that. Yeah, it's like the World Cup. Sure, there are things to point out that you might not like, and there's also great football being played, and it's a fantastic situation for fans of football. Now, it's the same with Thanksgiving. There are misgivings of the Thanksgiving, which have been noted and are not being refuted anyway.
Well, I understand those as well.
Yes, and they're intelligent enough in this community to have both, aren't we? In the one hand, what our misgivings are, and in the other hand, what we love and cherish about any occasion and getting together and seeing the good of it as well. We're smart enough to do that, everybody.
Yeah, I think we are. I mean, whether you are in a state of grief, as Rebel Mama is expressing in the comments, or not, I think it's possible to recognize, why you might be grieving. It's because you believe in connection or love or unity.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, all of these moments in time are choice points where we have that choice of how we want to be, how we want to show up today. And so for me, even though, I'm not American, I don't even feel that British these days, but my choice today is to show up and show up for unity, show up for love, show up for connection, and forgiveness. I think is a good one as well. So
and why not? That's right. Okay, well, that's nice. That's very good indeed. Thank you. And Mrs. M and I have been having a little bit of a difficult time in these last few days, haven't we?
You want to air that now?
I think it would be BS of me.
What, on a love show?
We're talking about, and I do have to give some context to this. We are talking about dating, marriage, and relationships with Maria João Silva. And this hasn't been the best time for me. I haven't been the best partner, and this hasn't been the most easygoing and loving times in our relationship. But we're talking about it and working on it, and I think that is live on air with everybody. So if you've got any tips for me, it's awful when it's raining so much and all your stuff's out on the front lawn. It's not as good as if as it could be as if it was summer, for example. Okay.
At least people can see I'm still in the same house as you.
We are,
although you do have a sort of background that could be anywhere, couldn't it?
No, I could be in the White House or whatever it is when they pretend to be in the White House and they're not in the White House. I could be anywhere, couldn't I?
Yeah.
Allegedly. Okay. Thanksgiving, man. Not a good day to be my pants, says Kevin James. Now, that's different if whether you read that as a British person or an American person, because pants, I think that is an American quote from Kevin James there, as in trouser, the pair of trouser that the Americans call pants for some reason. Pants.
It's funny. Our kids call them pants as well, don't they? Because they've grown up on
YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
So of course they do. And they speak with American accents as well. I'm sure our kids say,
and a bit of Canadian and Australian.
Yeah, our house, you'll hear the kids saying, "Can we go to Porto one day, Daddy?" and that sort of thing. Bon dia, Gumpers from T-Duck. Ian, and there was a little bit of a point of order yesterday, wasn't there? The doc was asking people to he wasn't asking people. Somebody asked, should they take multivits and vitamins and so on, and the doc said there wasn't the nutrition available in food. Forgive me, Doc, if I'm misquoting you here, but T-Duck, I think, took issue with that and said, if you eat the right food, you don't need vitamins and minerals. And I'm sure that's true. It's whether or not you can get the right food and fresh enough food, isn't it? And provenance, the right stuff to have that happen. But let's keep that bit of the conversation going about vitamins, minerals, and looking after yourself. It's very important, certainly within this God Squad environment here. Besides fresh vegetables and fruits, I eat almost nothing but starches and carbs. So T-Duck countering that anti-carb sentiment as well this morning. And then with a deep thought, he's all over it this morning. Remember that not getting what you want is sometimes a wonderful stroke of luck. That's not the
And who
team.
doesn't like a wonderful stroke of luck first thing in the morning?
Yeah, careful. And that'll be the. I don't have the Dalai Lama down when I'm talking when it comes to sexual innuendo. Dalai Lama is the title given by the Tibetan people to the foremost spiritual leader. He's above such matters, is he not? Who knows?
I doubt that.
Yeah. All right, someone had to say it, and it was you this morning. Off the
It was always going to be, wasn't it?
Yeah, why don't we have a feature? Someone had to say it. Spiritual leader of the Gelug school of Tibetan Buddhism, the 14th and current Dalai Lama is Tenzin Gyatso. He lives as a refugee in India, of course. Yes, and a Portuguese. Can I leave this to you this morning?
No, I'm shattered.
Cuckoo da Carasqueira. Okay, keep breathing. That's it. Cuckoo.
Sorry, that was.
Quantos anos me di solteira? Carasqueiras cuckoo. This is a bit bonkers, this one, isn't it? How many years do you give me single?
Right, like what? How many years until I meet my love, my one true love?
It's nice.
Do you know what? That's like counting like the seconds in between lightning and thunder to work out how far away the storm is.
Are you talking?
Not like linking emotional storms. Like your good relationship to an emotional storm or a shit storm.
Pulling the petals off flowers. He loves me not.
Yeah, or twisting the stalk on an apple whilst going A, B, C.
Hold on a minute. Did you twist the stalk on an apple as a younger woman?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't know about that one. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Did you do that before you met me? Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually kissed a frog before I met you. Not a Frenchman. I mean, I've kissed Frenchmen before, but I actually, yes.
I haven't. What is it like? Garlicky?
It's not as good as just kissing you. I mean, that after that first kiss,
yes.
I've not been able to think about any other kiss. All those, any kiss from the past has paled into insignificance. That first kiss just is the one.
Right, and you're talking about you and me, not a Frenchman, aren't you?
No, you and me. That first kiss that you stole from my lips.
Would you agree that it was between 8.5 and 9 on the Richter scale?
It was bigger than that.
That came later, I think.
Yeah, that kiss. That kiss is etched in my mind. I can't.
And people were shouting, as I recall.
Get a room.
Get a room. Yeah. Okay. Who knew then? Hugo Nuno, the 1755 Lisbon earthquake was one of the worst disasters in world history. Sorry, that was a really unfortunate segue, going from our recollections of our love life to one of the worst disasters in world history. The estimated magnitude was between 8.5 and 9 on the Richter scale. Incredible.
Wow.
And it's interesting, isn't it, given that we're talking about dating, marriage, and relationships, that sometimes the act of lovemaking is compared to earthquakes, of course. And I know which I prefer. Okay, and I'm not going to say Bom dia, Gampers, Feliz Quinta a todos, como tem passado. I won't be here tomorrow. What? Don't say things like that. Got to catch an early comboio para Porto, ver os meus amigos Concanhani. Very good, Concanhani.
How lovely.
Do send our best to those two lovebirds as well up there in Porto. It's 9 o'clock already. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
All the statistics I've got the demographics of Portugal, which are fascinating. I've got a feeling now I'm not going to get round to those, but that's all the population and fertility and that sort of thing, which might come into the conversation this morning. Portugal marriage boom that was described a little while ago. I think I should do that one. Novo Banco's guide to getting married. Oh no, Expaticas guide to getting married as an expat in Portugal. I wonder if there's differences if you're an expat or if you're a local. And moving to Portugal, that is moving to Portugal. Moving to Portugal.pt, I think, is Novo Banco's effort to reach out to expats and immigrants and foreigners. And they've got a little bit of information about getting hitched in Portugal. Processing and registering the marriage has a cost of €120. However, there are exceptions, which I might detail for you as well. But we have lots of information to give you about getting married in Portugal. And I'm afraid I haven't got through all the comments yet, but it's not right. It would be rude to keep Maria João Silva waiting any
it
longer.
would be very rude. Look at her. She's smiling in the back room.
She's smiling
looking
already. And
very fresh and happy and
with a
joyous.
voluptuous backdrop as well.
Yes, a lovely backdrop.
Okay. Show her into the studio, please.
Hi, guys.
Good
morning. Bom dia, alegria.
Oh, it's so lovely to see you. How are you?
How are
Great
you?
to see you guys. I'm sleepy, but great.
Oh, okay.
I'm great, and you?
Oh, I think we've got a bit of a delay here, haven't we? This should be fun then.
Yeah.
This should be fun, talking about dating and relationships.
We do?
Have we got a nice big delay?
We do have a bit of delay between us all.
Let's test
Yeah,
it.
we can see you. We can see you.
Definitely see
Oh,
you.
really?
Now,
Go on, give her a quick question.
Okay. How are you this morning, Maria?
Yeah. I'm great. How are you?
About 3 seconds then. Okay, well, bear that in mind. I was just testing the delay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And I've got a few stats and a bit of data about dating, marriage, and relationships.
Mhm.
But you seem to think it was quite a good idea to be talking about this morning. Why was that? Why did the thought of talking about this particular subject excite you so much?
About marriage and relationships?
Yeah.
Well, because I think it's important, and really all of us, it's a subject that interests everyone, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because it's Thanksgiving, obviously in America, and there are some people who don't like it very much. And giving this is like a relationship special. Apparently, Thanksgiving even beats Christmas in the US for murders amongst relatives. So be careful with those carving knives, especially if it's a nut roast. So
What?
you've got a very tough audience today, Maria.
Somewhat cynical, you might say.
Yeah, we've got a very cynical audience today.
I do.
And fair enough.
Oh my God.
We need to, how can we feel the love today, irrespective of our views on Thanksgiving
and Christmas
and all those celebrations where people fall out and get upset.
And in a global recession slowdown, that also is a bit of a challenge, isn't it? So what I'll do, Maria, if I may, is just read a few more of these comments. Let's catch up a little bit with the comments, because that might allow the time lag between us to almost like a relationship metaphor, isn't it? So let's read a few more comments this morning. Bon dia, Gumpers. Oh, we got that one. So send our love to Conk and Hanny, if you will. Your cue this morning, James. Science is not only compatible with spirituality, it is a profound source of spirituality, and so it should be. Well done, Carl Sagan, via James this morning. Yogi Berra quote of the day: it's not too far, it just seems like it is. Isn't that true as well? Yogi Berra is amazing. And hola todos, bom dia, from Jean as well. Hello, Jean. And Anna, who sent us a picture. We've got lovely pictures, Thanksgiving pictures. Mrs. M, feel free to do a few of these. Squeeze the toothpaste any way you like. Hola, bon dia, kids.
Really? Wow, you're very generous.
Go for it.
Okay, well, Victoria's saying, let's move on with a love convo.
She wants to get to it, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does.
Straight down to it with a love convo this morning. Excellent night. Thank you for your efforts. Well, I was for Colin thanking me for last night. It's always nice to get thanked for last night, isn't it? I think. And we'll come back.
I got this one from Gary Austin saying, gives a new meaning to the Big Bang Theory, Carl. We were talking about our phenomenal kiss, our phenomenal first kiss, and the Richter scale. So I think that's where that's coming from.
Thank you very much, Garvo. You little love bunny yourself. Go on.
I actually missed the crispy skin, but it's longer than I can eat. We can almost play a game of guessing what the comment is about. I'm guessing it's about turkey.
It's not about
Who knows? Who knows?
I'm missing. I could do with a bit of crispy skin right now. All right. Carlos, bon dia, Gubbers. Happy Thanksgiving to all. These are the FIPS. I quite like that. The foreigners, immigrants, and expats, the FIPS, rather than that convoluted way I go about it every time. And look at this. Stand back, everybody. Lock up, well, secure all loose furniture. Today I launched my love crusade, and even if you don't like me, I don't mind. That's fine. But we don't have to get twisted about our differences. Life's too short.
That is so beautiful.
There's his love crusade right there.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're giving a bit of
And
jazz.
with that photo of Gary as well, that sort of profile picture, it almost looks like he's coming out of a dark cave and into the light. You know, I'm almost sorry to say this, Gary, and to your lovely wife as well, but he almost looks like he's like a naked sort of man coming out. You know, like your impression that you do of what's his name in 300, where he's like, you know, like a really sort of like vital man. You know, he's on a crusade. He's gonna like chuck you over his shoulder like Tarzan.
What that when I stand at the bottom of the bed with just a red curtain over me and shout out, "This is Sparta!" Oh, you love
yes,
that.
Just like that, just like that.
You love it. Okay, Maria loves it as well. She's not even seen it. Love the grilled sprouts, says Thunder Duck. Thanksgiving special.
You guys are hilarious.
Hello, Gubbers. Happy Black Friday. There we go. There's another twist on it. Happy Black Friday week as well. Francis is in. Bon dia, alegria todos. Just bought my Sagres for the game later. Yeah, got my kit on.
Yes, there's lots of other things going on today. It's not just about Thanksgiving, is it? Like there's all the matches. There's lots of discussion all around the world right now about so many different issues.
Well, I'm doing a special tonight with Daniel Reis of Reis and Pelicano about Portuguese citizenship. It's on at 7:30. And I think quite a few Americans will be having a Thanksgiving dinner, so they might not be there. And Brazil are playing. It couldn't be.
So you're gonna be like not broadcasting to anyone.
I think it's gonna be me and Daniel. And Daniel might just be watching the telly out the corner of his eye. Sorry, not the best of timing tonight. But anyway, we'll see. How. Okay. My Portuguese French wife. Now that's a sexy combo. Forgive me, but that's got to be good, isn't it? Portuguese and French there was a catalyst to my personal business, family, and Portuguese successes. There you go. Secret of a man's success there. Marry into the Portuguese/French lineage, genetics there. And he goes on to say, beautiful inside and out, that olive skin. Look at him. He's getting himself.
Wow, he's getting revved up.
Easy, Tiger. Beautiful inside and out. That olive skin and French accent is a bit of a bonus as well. Does mine do it for you as well, Andy? I love Thanksgiving, in my opinion, the best American holiday. Lovely day with family, all around, hanging out together without any pressure of gift giving. That's the difference. And you don't give gifts on Thanksgiving. You just give thanks. That sounds good. Doesn't it? Yeah.
I mean, I get a lot of messages from my clients at this time of year. You know, they take the time and trouble to write a message to say, you know, what the relationship has given them.
Yes.
You know, in this last year. And it always really takes me back. You know, it's a time of really appreciating each other. Yeah. I mean, or maybe we should just be like that all the time, just appreciating each other, being grateful for how we show up in each other's lives. I think it's lovely.
Well, you are reminded, aren't you, if you haven't been doing that, I guess, on a special day. Maria, what's it like then in terms of the, there's a growing number of Americans, I think, in Portugal, it's fair to say. Over the years then, have you noticed the growth of the Thanksgiving celebration here in Portugal? She's frozen now, I think. Is she frozen for you as well, Mrs. M?
Yeah, she is.
She looks
Hello. Isn't it funny how both Maria and I have shown up with black and white
prints,
spotted tops on?
Yeah, indeed. I think we refresh the connection, Maria, because I think we're struggling a bit.
I can't hear. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's true. It's better. Yes, I'm going to do that.
It might be good to reconnect. See you in a few minutes, and let's see if we can create a better connection with you. And we'll just go through a few more of our lovely Thanksgiving sentiments and comments. See you in a little while. If you restart, reconnect. We'll see you in just a moment. All righty. Okay, there she goes. And we will, check on these lovely comments and even photographs that have been sent in. I saw Anna's name and I began to read out a comment from Anna. This, I think she is grateful for, not being in the snow. There's a car under there. What?
There is, isn't there?
There is a car underneath there. And what are you saying, Anna? No, not that one. Where's the other Anna that sent Anna Olsen? I've got you, Anna. How grateful I am being in Portugal. No snow, cold, or chaos in traffic. Underneath this bulk of snow is a car in Stockholm. Isn't that incredible? Thank you for sending that in, Anna, and thank you for sharing your thanks with us. Is it okay, Bill and Marcus, to share the picture you sent in to us? And we've got a lovely thing that brings a few themes together this morning from Jean. Thank you, Jean, for this. This is Tavira and the octopus Thanksgiving dinner you had last year. I could eat that right now. That you know you're in Portugal when, don't you, Mrs. M? Look at all those things on the table that tell you that you're in Portugal.
Definitely. Yeah, the vinegar, the oil. It's unusual to see salt and pepper on a table as well, isn't it?
That's true.
What else have they got there? Olives. Is that some sun-dried tomatoes or something, or some yellow herbs?
It looks a bit pick-a-powy, doesn't it? That what's
Yeah,
going on?
yeah, it does, doesn't it?
And
Looks
the
nice.
bread basket and a glass of white, very good, excellent stuff. And in Tavira as well, the plastic waste collector that I was telling you about, Carrie Prestgard, of course, and Asta Anderson. They would be delighted to see that. And there you go. That's a way of dealing with plastic waste on the beach there. And Emily, thank you very much. You've sent in a Thanksgiving turkey, one of the ones that's lucky to be alive this morning. I hope it still is. Fair play to that marvelous bird. And I must say, I do a pretty good turkey impersonation as well, which I don't stand at the bottom of the bed and do. What?
Just
what?
I don't think you should have likened your impressions to you standing at the edge of the bed. Like, people have got these ideas about you now that
what people have
might be
about me.
that might be a bit too much for people to stomach.
I'm so charming. All right, I am looking for a comb-over dating site. Pete, are you getting to that situation? Women who enjoy a good comb-over in a gusty setting, like the seaside or airport, will not be able to resist. Now, interestingly, but women, I mean, some women like a baldy anyway, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think for fellas probably make a bigger deal of it. Like that lady, that I call her a lady, that the hairdresser who suggested I have a hair transplant. Right. Never going to forgive her.
Pete, anyway. I mean, is it a comb over dating site for women with comb overs, or
I'd look at that,
or for men with comb overs? That's what I'm interested in knowing.
And what they're combing over. Let's face it. Grateful for staying healthy through the pandemic, says Colosseum. I'm going to read this again. I did read it earlier on, but I think this is wonderful. Grateful.
You do that every day. You read a few every day, again and again.
What? Do I?
Yeah, you do.
Really? Like I'm repeating myself? Really?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
But it's okay. It's okay. I mean, we're getting into that comb over.
Getting to that age. Okay,
redo kind of like territory, aren't we?
Grateful for staying healthy through this pandemic. Grateful for our upcoming return to Portugal. I'm grateful for the wonderful community. So sorry for repeating myself with such beautiful sentiments.
That's okay. I'm sure people are going to be repeating themselves loads today over the dinner table. I like this from PT Country Bear. What non-Americans might not understand is that Thanksgiving is a popular time for young people to tell their family about life changes. Hey, pass the potatoes. And by the way, I'm gay.
Excellent. And now, if you did that, please let us know how that went. And if you're doing that, if you're thinking of doing that today, love and support for you sharing your authentic self at the Thanksgiving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
And Gary's saying, on the bright side, Pete, at least you get killed when you're nice, happy, and well fed at Thanksgiving. A bit like the turkey, I suppose.
I certainly do hope that is not going to be happening to Pete later today. Okay, let's give her another round of applause. And let's see. It's all about relationships today, and this is a metaphor for relationships, the quality of connection. And has it worked better this time, Maria?
That's true.
It is. It seems better. Although,
can you hear me?
Maria, you did put in a private chat saying, I think we still have a delay. But do you know what? I think that's fine. Let's go with it anyway.
Yes.
We're going to go with it anyway.
Yeah, let's do it anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me, if I may, give you a few statistics of what goes on, or what we think goes on anyway, because we're going to find out the truth, I think, from Maria a little bit later on about what really goes on. She is, of course, our correspondent on Another Side of Life in Portugal. She tells us, as a Portuguese woman, what's really going on here and challenges our ideas as the FIPS coming in. Let's start with this marriage boom then. Bit of context. This is going back earlier this year, but I think it's still useful information. Number of marriages celebrated in the first quarter of this year of 2022, more than quadrupled. Now, that might be a pandemic effect because people couldn't get married. But I think there's also probably, I don't know, a bit of blitz spirit or something. People checking their priorities. Maybe people thinking, that's it. I don't care about all this other stuff. I just want to be in a relationship and be loved and so on. And maybe, you know, marriage is a good context for that. Compared to the same period in 2021, when it was only 1,445, it quadrupled to, doesn't seem so many
Wow.
people, does it? I
Wow.
mean, in a population of 10 million people, that doesn't seem a massive amount of people getting married. According to the data from the National Statistics Institute here in Portugal, the INE, the month with the most weddings was March, with over 2,000, February 1,700, and in January 1,400. There were about 5 times more marriages celebrated in the first quarter of 2022
Wow.
compared to the same period. So we don't quite know what that's about, do we? And I wonder if they're going to tell us how many divorces there were here as well. But it's interesting. It's I'm not. That wasn't meant to be in any way snarky, but it happens, doesn't it? We live in the age, do we not, where people do give you the statistic of the rising number of divorces and how many marriages do end in divorce. Is it 1 in 3, approaching 1 in 2? And just collectively, we might have a problem, mightn't we, with relationships, with love, with marriage. And gone are the days when I, as a young gentleman, would just wait for a young lady to drop her hanky on the street as a sign of possible courtship. Now it's Tinder and Grindr and all these things where you're swiping left and right. The world has changed so much. It looks terrifying for younger people. So, Maria, could you give us a little bit of a view on the traditions? You know, we're living in a Catholic country here, aren't we? Marriage has been very important to people in Portugal. Can you tell us a little bit about the past and when you were growing up, what that was like to be in that, and tell us the shape of things now, if you will?
Well, when definitely when I was younger, there were no, dating apps, or I think it's something that we imported from the US, because it's not a typical thing or a traditional thing in Portugal well, now it is. Now it is. Amongst the youngest and the oldest people, middle-aged, everyone is on those dating apps, which is something that started in the US, as much as I know, and we just imported it very recently with I don't know, maybe when Facebook and Instagram started, and gradually we like evolved, if we can call that evolving, to
Not
I
a
think
fan.
it's right. I think it's such a there's such a desperate need for connection that which it's not desperation in a bad sense. I think that people have the right to love and be loved, and today it's easier in that sense for people to connect with each other. And as far as I know, there are many relationships, beautiful, sacred, even relationships that appear because people have the access to go on those dating apps. For example, I mean, I don't know, I'm not a dating app person at all. I think I'm very traditional in that sense, because when I grew up, it was boy meets girl meets girl, or girl meets boy, and you know, face to face. Yeah, sometimes at work, other times at school. I have friends with beautiful love stories that started in school, but yeah, but it's totally different these days. That's for sure here in Portugal.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're talking about people getting together at school. I mean, like I remember people getting together at school, but we were talking about student to student. Now, if you hear about people getting together at school, you're hearing about teachers and students, and things like
also
that.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that does happen. But
I have an ex-college colleague that she and one of our teachers fell in love, and they lived together. I don't know, for 20 something years.
Presumably we're talking about people of a certain age, that they are in consensual relationships and old enough to sort of advocate for themselves.
You're going to hope so, aren't you, on that?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah. Now, this.
I
Oh,
Sorry, go on, Miss.
sure,
I
sure. Yeah. No, in high school or before high school. But what I mean is in college. This story that I know happened
mhm,
in college.
Yes.
And
yeah.
they fell in love and decided to go through with their relationship.
Mm,
Yes.
And that's
But-
beautiful. Because
Yeah.
yeah.
age,
So, what
Mm,
possibly what we can glean from this then
has
is
got
like
nothing to do with it.
mm,
quite love is love. Love conquers all and remains the, I suppose, the eternal part of this conversation, and perhaps the pursuit or realization that we might all be looking for. But the methods to achieve it have changed definitely from what you're
mm,
saying, Maria. So we've got dating apps now, and it's
Hmm.
not so much face to
Hmm.
face and hankies and that sort of thing. Generally speaking, then, forgive me for putting you on the spot as the kind of barometer for all of Portuguese culture, but I'm going. I think that is why we have you here in some ways. Um, how is the phenomenon viewed of modern dating? Is there a clash between the traditional Catholic positions of maybe even no sex before marriage and people meeting each other and it being ordained by the church from the Catholic traditions of Portugal, and the new wild. I mean, always when you look towards when you're of a certain age, you're looking at the young people and thinking, my goodness, it wasn't like that in my day. And let's face it, lots of new things do seem to be in the common consciousness, collective, or whatever you call it, of very different kinds of relationships and very different approaches to love, sex, and relationships. How is that tension shaping up generally in Portuguese culture?
Well, I can't speak for the general Portugal,
Sorry.
but I know,
Yes.
I know. No, it's great. It's great. Thanks for asking that. It's a great question. But I know, you know, many love stories, um, different kinds of love stories. I think the way that the relationships and the way people meet and everything has evolved, um, it has definitely opened up for new kinds of relationships.
Yeah.
Um, because here in Portugal, my parents' generation is still very traditional. You see,
Yes.
I mean, let's speak generally, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it definitely has changed a lot. But I think that people with this technology things, people are just, it's normalized, naturalized. People have already, it's not something that is strange, not in
Yes.
my generation, and even in older generations. It's just something that is very natural for people to go on apps and try to find love.
Yeah, yeah. So an acceptance, we can say that then now, and perhaps the evolution you speak of, that is just part and parcel now of Portuguese life. We are getting some fantastic comments coming in about this. Evolve says, Raphael, no, dating apps are devolution of the human race. So Raphael, not a fan, and I think you describe. Oh, I thought she
Mm.
was there for a minute and she disappeared again. And in my humble opinion, says Amelie, dating apps are like Facebook, black holes of time wasters. Give me an old fashioned, hip, and trendy meetup. That's very nice to hear, Amelie. Thank you. Morning, everyone. Definitely, when you are attending official appointments, there is more than a little surprise sometimes. Sometimes a bit of rudeness about not being married. This is Fiona's experience of being in Portugal. Often told, I need my husband to do this or ask about that. That's an interesting traditional view there, Fiona.
That's true.
Is
That's
that
true.
right? Okay, so that still
Yes.
persists then, Maria, and you would agree with that.
Yeah. And
And
the other way around also.
oh, what
Ne-
a man should send his wife in to talk about certain things.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what for? What should I be sending Mrs. M to do that I shouldn't be doing myself?
I don't know.
Shopping.
For example, if you have something online that you want to sell,
Yes.
it's very common for. It's either it happens both ways. It's very common to see people asking, for example, for the price or where they can pick it up or something, and
Yes.
then you answer, or they make an offer on the thing that they're buying, and then they say, oh, I have to speak to my wife about it, and then we'll discuss it further.
And that's an acceptable thing to say in Portuguese culture as a way of maybe delaying or managing a sale of something.
Yeah.
Okay, hear that, Mrs. M. I need to be safe. I need to get back to. I need to talk to my wife about that. I shall be using that in my relationship. Maria, sorry, you're going to add something else there.
Yes, about the word evolving.
Yes.
What I meant there, I didn't mean that the dating apps is evolution of relationships. That's not what I meant. What I meant was that it opened up. It's in the sense that people are showing up. All kinds of different relationships are showing up and appearing, and people are assuming different kinds of relationships.
Yes.
After the dating apps, have boomed here in Portugal.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thank you for that clarification.
Evolving in the sense that it's evolution. It's just because sometimes it's a devolution, definitely, because there are many relationships that get corrupted, and all kinds of things happen when people go on dating apps. For what I know, for what I'm told.
Yeah. No, understood. Mrs. M's got some excellent dating stories, which I'm not trying to embarrass or out you here.
No, it's fine. I was on dating apps for about 4 years. I had a really long relationship for 11 years, and then a gap whilst I was waiting for this handsome prince to come into my life, and and it was so strange, having never really learnt to date as a child, as a teen, never really learning what it's like to create a relationship, because I fell in love the first time when I was 20, so I hadn't really practiced dating or anything. And then in my 30s to go out, I used dating apps. We were both on the same dating app, funnily enough, but we just wouldn't have met because we were in different areas and we'd put down different requirements as to what we were hoping for. But oh my goodness, I had some real awful mishaps, people lying about their height, their weight. I had someone turn up who had pictures, and they were all moody pictures of him, and then when he turned up, his voice was like Donald Duck, and he had no teeth, and I think things like that you should know. I think if you are going to do dating sites, then you need to find a way to excite the senses a little bit, or at least get your senses working, because when you're just looking at reams of text or photos, you're not really getting a very accurate view of somebody. I think go to meet them as soon as you can, or at least try and have an actual phone call so you can hear their voice, because if you don't hear their voice, there's no way in the world you'll ever be attracted to them. The voice is like hearing, and then smelling them. I mean, obviously, I'm not suggesting you go and sniff them, but you have to meet somebody in person to know if you're gonna like the way they, because that click is about sight and smell and dare I say taste. I mean, obviously you're not sampling somebody when you meet them, but or some people might be, but there's this whole range of senses that come into compatibility, I think, and dating apps don't give you that. But what they do give you is a quick way to hook up, and then a quick and easy way to shake somebody off after. Oh gosh, that came out wrong.
That did come out wrong. That is awful. Where can I see this site? Lots of people want to know about this site you're talking about. Right, okay. I'm not a fan of dating. Oh God.
No. Sorry. Oh, that's so good. Oh my God.
Good, isn't it? I'm not a fan of dating. Let's give Mrs. M a chance to recover now.
Sorry, I didn't mean to use. I wasn't trying to imply that.
I know, I understand, but the phrases. I mean, American use the phrase "blow people off," don't they? It's not unlike
exactly.
What you said.
Yeah,
but you get the gist.
I mean, I remember when we were sat having a picnic with our friend Dan in Devon about probably about 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah,
and he was playing on Grindr, so he was interested in meeting a man, and so we were just sat having a picnic in rural Devon, and all of a sudden he's scanning on a map. He could tell that somebody else that was logged on to Grindr was walking up closer and closer to us. Yeah. So we're like, where is this person?
And then can we have your attention, please, Dan? What are you doing?
yeah. We're having a picnic, and he's just like scanning his phone because his nearest catch was just walking towards him, and it turned out to be somebody from from the cafe that we worked, that was on site of where we were staying.
If you have gay friends, this can happen. They'll be looking at their phone, and the phone will be dinging away, and they'll be looking around like this,
trying to work out who it is.
And I think what happened. I'm sure this is whatever sexual orientation people are. If they're on the lookout, they will be dinging away in their pocket and looking around. And I think what that came down to in the end is, oh, it's him. I've had him. Anyway. I'm not a fan of dating and refuse to do it. But are there any single men over 45? It's a good question.
It's loads.
And it leads us very, very conveniently to a question that Victoria is asking as well. Great question. Straight down to it, Victoria. MJ, give us a skinny on what makes Portuguese men tick. Stop it, Gary. And you, Mrs. M. So give us a skinny on what makes Portuguese men. Can you do that from your sort of generalized sense of Portuguese culture?
Well, I think it's not like a Portuguese thing. Okay. I think it's what makes men tick. Carl, you're the best person to say what makes a man tick. Although I'm sure it's different from man to man, right?
Yes.
But
a little flash of the ankle, maybe.
Exactly. Yes. a little giggle through a handkerchief. No, but I mean, you're right. But there must be some. Well, yeah, you make a very good point there, Maria. Because, and what I want to say about that is it what really makes men tick? And it's connected to what you were saying, Mrs. M, about wanting to see people and smell them and have a sensory experience of people as the process of dating, rather than this bloody metaverse thing that we're being moved towards, where we're just dealing with fragments of people and electronic representations. That to me is a disaster for humanity. That is devolution, not evolution. But what is also interesting, which has happened before social media, but has probably been exacerbated by it, is when Victoria asked the question, what makes Portuguese men tick? There's two bits to that. Is what makes men tick and what especially makes Portuguese men tick. And there are things we could probably say about that as generalizations. But what I find interesting about that is, and it's the same for women and Portuguese women and whatever nationality, is that really what makes you tick? Or is it something you've been conditioned to think makes you tick? Now that's a big thing.
That's a great point. Yes.
Is that not what we're dealing with at the moment? Is being told and brought up to like a certain thing? Because I mean, I was saying to you, Mrs. M, the other day, wasn't I? This old, is it a trope you'd call it, of stockings and suspenders? As a man who was brought up in the 60s and 70s, that was the whole thing of like Playboy and women in stockings and suspenders as being the thing you were supposed to be excited about. And when you look at it now, it's like laughing at Victorians who like you say, Mrs. M, found a flash of the ankle exciting. And these things are conditioning, aren't they? So maybe that's what where we're going this morning is to I don't know, to give ourselves more authenticity and individuality in really understanding what makes us tick as individuals, rather than worrying too. And it's my fault. I mean, I'm asking you to be the spokeswoman for Portuguese culture here, and I think you're very good at doing that to a great extent. And you also bring other sides to the conversation, of course, because I know you're involved in wanting people to have more authentic, deeper relationships, right? And that's also some of the work you do. So sorry for that big long spiel there, but what would you say about that?
I think answering to Victoria, one of the things that I know, but I think that it's general in men, it's a good sense of humor. Yeah. And women, sometimes Portuguese women culturally are not that how to say
funny?
Not, it's not, they're not funny, but it's not a big characteristic of women in Portugal to be very outgoing and expansive. Expensive, not in the sense of expansion, not expensive.
That's not a turn on. Yes.
But I think that men in general, and Portuguese men also, like a good sense of humor. Yes. And what I notice now is, as men, thankfully are being more vulnerable and open to vulnerability, they're looking for healing relationships.
Oh.
Where the partners are, connected in the same way, in the same level. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we're traditionally, although we have a men's world, traditionally Portuguese culture is very matriarchal.
Yes.
Yeah. But men still, it's matriarchal in the sense of the home, but the man calls the shots traditionally. That's traditional. And that is changing a lot. But we still have that, unbalance in certain relationships.
Yeah.
Does it make sense what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
definitely. No, I'd like to know more for sure. Yeah.
But men are more, in my generation and the
Yes.
newer generations are looking for healing relationships.
Interesting. So this is a thing. There is a thing that is emerging, because this is what we've come to with migration. We're talking much more now about moving to Portugal from the point of view, and this isn't the same for everybody. But what interests me and Luisa here is is what goes on for you when you move country. Now you're talking, I think, about the same sort of thing here, about how a relationship could be a healing and a matter of personal development, rather than just an old-fashioned thing of the love match. I was listening to a very interesting video last night about how a relationship can be based on points of connection, which would be the traditional, oh, we've got so much in common, or points of creation, where we could do this together, or, as you say, we could find out this about each other and ourselves, which would be a creative act of being married, right? And the problem, of course, with points of connection is you lose those, don't you? They're either on or off, and the things you used to like perhaps change, and those connections will be lost. Whereas if you're thinking about it from a healing point of view or a creative point of view, then you have the expansion that you talked about before, and you have an open-ended possibility for your relationship, don't you, to grow and to be creative. So I'm fascinated to discover this with you then, Maria, so this is a thing. Would you say that the generation of Portuguese men, your generation and younger men coming through now, actually have that on their agenda and in their vocabulary, that a relationship is a transformational and healing thing?
Yes, although for many men, I don't think, and women in that sense, is not, in many cases, it's not very conscious.
Okay.
You see?
Yes.
Deep down, the healing factor is definitely there. And some people just don't know how to verbalize it because they have no awareness of it.
Wow.
But there is emerging, definitely, and it's emerging like very fast, because I think there is definitely a spiritual experience and a energetic experience going on these days. And people are more connected to that. You see? So that healing factor definitely is on, even if it's not conscious, it's there.
Yes, this is wonderful, and I think you're absolutely right, Mrs. M. Did you catch any of that? About how relationships are energetics, more perhaps than the old love match of, I mentioned the thing that I was talking to you about last night. The points of connection or points of creation, and Maria was talking about how it is that consciously or unconsciously, people are coming into relationship for healing and growth.
Yes.
And maybe they always did.
That's why so many first relationships don't work.
Say more. Why is that?
Yes.
Well, because we haven't. I mean, I became aware at the end of my relationship, my first relationship. I went into quite a lot of grief for quite a long time, and then partway along that, I realized I wasn't actually grieving for the relationship. I realized that the grief that had been triggered in me was actually old insecurities about not being good enough, full stop, not about that actual relationship. So I'd made that relationship mean it was my chance to become good enough, and I was putting all the pressure on him, that I was good enough to be in that relationship. But actually it's just old stuff, that I needed to heal from my own family experience.
Yes, indeed. No,
and so we're really lucky if we meet someone that we can actually both heal with and both come to terms with who we are with. But that's not normally the case. Normally what happens is we all dump on each other without meaning to, and leave each other in a bigger mess than when we arrived with each other.
but I feel that's because there are certain reasons why that happens. And I really feel, and it's my experience with myself and others, that people come into our lives to mirror us, right, in a certain way, or to trigger us. Right? Whether or not you believe in this cosmic spiritual thing or not, it doesn't mean that it's not happening because of that. Because when you cross paths with someone, it's because you have to. Somehow you have to meet those people to learn or to love or to heal or to, experience so much depth that sometimes you have to go down the hole, and feel miserable and into pieces for you to understand that you can rise above the situation, for you to know your own strength, right?
Well, sometimes a terrible relationship is the best gift, because you learn so much from it.
For sure. That's true.
Makes me a bit uncomfortable, but anyway, nom de plume. I've never been on a date. This is fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for your contributions. And Maria, let's find out. Let's find out what's going on. If people want to engage with that consciously, we'll come back to you to find out what's happening in Portugal about that. But this is lovely, Victoria. Not possible to heal by yourself. Connection is necessary. Isn't that a lovely thing to say and acknowledge as well? A Thanksgiving sentiment there, and the experience of a truly loving relationship can definitely be healing. I think that's a tail end. Oh, if you're looking, here we go. This is the beginning of that comment. If you're looking for a partner to help heal you, the odds are not in your favor. Okay, so that's about putting the responsibility of that healing work on the other, I suppose. And you go on to say, and the experience of a truly loving relationship can definitely be healing there. I'll know my significant other when I see him. He will look like I will pass that on. He is a handsome fella. Some people want movie star lookalikes, which I would say, Nuno, as he steps out of his Tesla, he does look like a movie star. Oh, and P.S. from James, but the healing is the personal inward work and the revelation that may occur more freely in. That's lovely, James. Thank you very much. To have a companion in life who enables that is a great blessing and something to be thankful for, of course, on this Thanksgiving Day. A sunrise or a sunset shared is a beautiful thing. And of course, yes, it doesn't need to be all hard therapeutic work, does it? It can be just the sharing of those experiences.
But also what I'm taking from what what I take from Gary's words there is maybe a slightly different level to what you read it at. Like a sunrise is like this beautiful rising up, this like growth relationship, and a sunset might be where a relationship is setting. But they're both beautiful things for different reasons.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But I mean, I might have just read that into that statement. I mean, my most ridiculous date, if if people want a bit of a laugh, I remember I remember this. I was in my front garden waiting for this man to turn up, who was a Kiwi. He'd been.
Hold on a minute. You're waiting in your front garden. That's a bit desperate, isn't it?
No. I was expecting him to knock on my door, like he was going to take me out. We were going to go for a date, go for a coffee somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I was just in my front garden, just tidying up a few things. And then all of a sudden, there's this really short guy stood at my gate, and he looked completely different to his photos, like absolutely so different. I didn't recognize him. I thought he was just somebody that was looking for some work, like somebody that wanted to do something in my garden. And so, like, when I spoke to him, I was like, "Hello, can I help you?" I had absolutely zero idea this was my date. Then when I realized, I was a bit shocked because he looked nothing like, absolutely like zero, just really no resemblance at all. And he said, "Oh, I've got my dog in the car. Before we go for coffee, can we take my dog for a walk?" And I said, "Well, yeah, there's this great place down the road." And I don't advise people get into somebody's car on a first date. That's a terrible idea. But it was so much more terrible for, I mean, this was like, 15 years ago now. But anyway, I get into his front car, and there's this bottle of like amber liquid on his front seat. And where he'd been traveling to see me and not stopping, he'd actually urinated into an empty bottle of water, and it was actually on the front seat welcoming me. He's like, "Oh, excuse the bottle of piss," I was so shocked. I was thinking, "Oh my God,
wow."
Yeah, I was like, "Oh my goodness, this isn't going to work on so many different levels." I mean, yes, he was openly vulnerable, but not open enough to have photos that looked like him. I had a bit of a success just a couple of days ago. I was in the laundrette, like a friend's success. I was in the laundrette, and all of a sudden, I noticed somebody watching me from the doorway, and it was somebody that was just arriving at the laundrette. And I turned around and looked at her, and I recognized that she's somebody I hadn't met before, but I'd been chatting to on Facebook, and she had obviously recognized me. So our photos on Facebook actually look like who we are, that we can recognize each other in the street. And if you're using photos from 10 years ago that really don't look like you're not going to have success on a dating app.
Lots
you have to be
of
vulnerable
advice,
and show
lots
up.
of advice this morning. We're a bit all over the place with some of these themes, but I think the gist is there, isn't it? The essence is that love conquers all, and humans just have a lot of different ways of going about it. I think is the general flavor this morning.
But I think these apps can really hide hide who you like. You can really put on something very fake and false about yourself and really come across. I didn't touch the water bottle, Vitor, so I can't tell if it was warm.
There's lots of advice here. Thank you, Rebel Mum. Don't advise people to tell a first date where they live either.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that now. I really wouldn't have someone come to my front door now. I mean, this is 15 years ago. Definitely. And I was living in a very different context back then.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
Like if we were like in Fiona's case, where her daughters are going out dating now, if our children were at a dating age, I would have plenty to say.
Yes.
Plenty of guidance for them to keep them safe.
It doesn't really matter if it was warm or not. It was a deal breaker that it be cold.
Yeah, it was a deal breaker. I mean, also, like when you get into somebody's car, if you can't breathe for the smell of dog, that's also a massive no-go. Just saying.
The smell of. Okay, yeah, and I feel the need, and I think I've earned this right now at my age to speak to younger men. And I would like to say something. I might like to make.
I mean, there's Tinder for that, love. Oh, Grindr for that.
No, I don't want to make that sort of announcement or a Thanksgiving announcement that I'm gay today. I don't mean that one. I'm going to save that till next year.
You're going to speak to younger men. What do you want to say to them?
I want to speak to the likes of men who turn up in a car that smells of dogs with bottles of urine in. To not do that, that is pathetic. And take this from an older dog, a would-be alpha male in your company, that you really must not do that. That is, you're letting us all down. You've let yourself down. You've let your dogs down. And I want to let your tires down, but for doing that and embarrassing mankind for behaving so poorly. Have some self-respect and have a little bit of respect for the woman you're attempting to woo. Okay, that's a level of authenticity I think that should not be shared on the first date. Quite frankly, to put it another way. So yes,
one of the things that I don't quite get in dating apps is this thing about posting pictures that do not correspond to who you are, because if if you're on a dating app, it's because you want to date. So eventually you're going to have to be with that person, right? So why put pictures? Or this is something that I think this is one of the reasons why I never signed up for any dating app. It's because, if you want to go on a date to build something with someone, even if it's just for fun, along the way you're going to have to meet the person. So why lie about who you are?
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Cole met my whole family on our first date, didn't you, love?
I did. That seemed to me in the moment to be the right thing to do. I mean, if you want to build trust and for people to see you how you are, I couldn't think. I mean, we didn't arrange it like that, did we? But that's how it turned out. We had the opportunity for me to meet your whole family, and I, I'll be honest, I did want to take you back to my kingdom. Immediately. So I just thought the best way to do that would be for your family to check me out and see if that would be an appropriate outcome for the day. And they did. They even brought your suitcases, didn't they?
Yeah. They were like, yeah, get rid of her.
Right. So go on.
Another top tip I would suggest is not to get completely wasted on alcohol before you go on a date. I once went out on a date with a pilot. His job didn't attract me. I wasn't interested in the fact that he was a pilot. He just sounded like an interesting person to go on a date with. And I met him at the restaurant, and he just didn't seem very with it. Like, he said a couple of strange things, and I thought, well, that's a bit weird. Is he a bit like tired or
cabin to cross check,
whatever?
Like
but after the first course, he actually passed out. So he was obviously just really tanked up. And I mean, this is terrible. This is so awful. YouTube so I was like eating my meal, and then all of a sudden, his head hit the
oh my God, on the date? Are you serious?
Yeah, serious.
Dating in
England. He was like mid-sentence, like we were chatting about something, and he just said, and then just passed out.
Joe Biden style. Yeah, amazing. I mean,
that's really awful. So
yeah, and then these stories, anecdotes may be available on a YouTube channel. And I started to notice something.
I've got so many. I mean, it's terrible.
Wonderful.
You should do a show on that. That's hilarious.
And sort of, give people tips on how to date correctly, appropriately, usefully. Lovely comments as ever from watching my girls dating, says Fiona. Portuguese men seem to want intelligent women, hard workers, but who will treat their men like kings. That's quite a package here, isn't it? Very traditional. No change should be expected in the man's social life. He can do as he pleases, but the girl should work, then be home waiting for him. He sounds like a keeper. She may be okay to go out and socialize in the daytime alone, but not often in the evenings. He can go to the bar to his friends to watch sport or whatever. That sounds all right, doesn't it? Men sorry, go on.
I can see that from so many different aspects now. Having lived in Indonesia, that was actually quite normal. Like, the wives and children were at home, and the men went out and they would be playing chess on the sides of the street whilst having a beer or watching the match. So I've seen that across, in different places that does go on. However, I also noticed that in some of these situations, the women are actually quite happy chatting at home. I think we've all been, and I'm not trying to make a sexist statement, I promise, but one of the things I've always thought of myself as being somebody who was very independent, and I wanted the right to go out at every hour of the day and do whatever I wanted. And yeah, sure, I've exercised that right as well. I have also realized that when I'm in a great relationship, my actual desire to go out actually isn't that big, because I am naturally a homemaker. I am actually somebody who wants to spend more time at home or having sort of smaller chats with people that I like and be around family rather than going to bars and meeting people there. So I can understand how culturally that may well have also happened, that women did tend to do more of the home stuff and men do more of the external stuff. But I recognize that as I say that, that's a massive red flag for women who are saying, whoa, equality. I'm not saying women shouldn't do it at all. Absolutely not. But I can see how those norms may well have come up in cultures, not always from the perspective that men are trying to deliberately subvert the female expression, though I do believe that happens for sure.
It happens completely. For sure.
It definitely happens. And I also recognize that it's nice to not have the pressure to, be this extroverted woman. I'm actually quite introverted. I'm very, very happy to stay at home. But I can see that there's, like lots of pros and cons on each side. I can see how that could naturally occur.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I think another part
of it. It's difficult to express because I feel like I'm letting the system down.
But... well, to me, you said it brilliantly. And this is another part of that, isn't it? In certain kinds of culture, is that whilst the men are doing that, this is João F is sharing with us here that men actually do not call the shots. They might get sent out with some beer money to go and they don't call the shots in actual fact. It's a sort of matriarchal system. They just think they do, or they labor under that impression anyway. And what else have we got here this morning? Because I want to come back to you and some last words to you, our great guest today, Maria. Always great to have you here. And pick up on this particular theme of this, relationships as a healing and personal development, having that angle. I mean, let's not get too earnest or intense about that, because it would just be I think it'd be pretty off-putting on a dating site if somebody advertised for basically a therapist rather than a partner. However, I totally take on board what you're saying, and where better to be more authentic and to develop and to grow as a human being than in a loving relationship. Now, that being the case, and from what you're saying, that this is a growing realization or movement in Portugal, where would somebody find out about this? How would are there dating sites like that? Are there workshops like that? Are there communities like that where this would be for somebody who's an expat and thinks, yeah, that is a sort of relationship I'm looking for? Authenticity, putting love first, kindness. There are some lovely profiles here of what people are looking for. How would an expat, immigrant, foreigner go about finding that in Portugal, do you think?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, that's a great question. I don't know the answer for that, because it's not. Because people connect in all sorts of places, like at work, or sometimes in school for the younger generations. But I think these days, even here in Portugal, because the truth is, Portugal is very, how can I say this? We have a very strong tradition in relationships, but these days we are so open to technology that it's not very different from the English or the French or the German, you see? Because, for example, you can be in a coffee shop and all of a sudden someone walks in that takes your breath away, and that, those people that really need to connect. So what I mean is, there's no specific place that you can go to meet people, you see? Because it can happen wherever you are. And then these days, as I know from my friends, people really are, on those dating apps and looking for love in dating apps.
Yes,
it's very common here in Portugal for people to connect through work. People that work together, So that's perhaps, as far as I know, it's
maybe that is the thing. Then is the traditional methods are best, where you get to see people not trying, but they are being themselves, aren't they? Perhaps at work. I mean, to some extent. There are exceptions to that, of course, but and meeting friends of friends, these are the lovely ways, and asking friends to say, I want to meet people. Can you have a dinner party? Can we have a barbecue or something like that? And let's help each other meet people. These are lovely ways of meeting people naturally, aren't they?
Definitely.
Now, am I right in thinking that you do write about this, and do you host workshops yourself in terms of creating greater authenticity and intimacy in relationships? Is that part of your work, or do you write about that?
Or both?
I write about it, and I'm starting to develop workshops and trainings about this. Yes.
Okay. How do we find out more?
You can find me on my Facebook, or you can email at mjsilverwriter@gmail.com. And every time I host a workshop or do a talk or write an article, I always post on my Facebook and I share it, so it's easy to find me.
We would love to share your work. We really appreciate your insight and how
thank
you
you. Thank you
what
so much.
Very happy to share any links to the work that you're publishing. And it is such a fascinating area of life now that we are speaking about relationships in this way. Personally, that's what I think anyway. And I think that's quite a nice little evolution, as you put it earlier on, for our kids to go into, that we're moving away from just, the idea of connection being the main thing in terms of shared interest, into actually something a little bit more deeper and profound and so on, and true authentic sharing of what people are and relationships based on that. So thank you. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add, Maria, yourself or Mrs. M, on this.
There's so much to talk about this.
I'd love to do another show.
Yes, this is
because we could just go on and on and on. I mean, I was just thinking, I absolutely agree that meeting up in person is the best way forwards, because you get, especially if you're meeting up not for dating reasons, if you're meeting because of a shared interest, that by far is the best way to really get to know somebody without the pressure on. But one thing that I've noticed, having lived abroad in quite a few countries, is the fact that cross-cultural relationships are a bit of a phenomenon. Like when I was living in Bali, I did date a Balinese guy for a short while, and I didn't realize, it's
a cliffhanger now. Come on, Miss Lim, you can do this despite children clawing.
1 second, sweetheart. One thing that I didn't realize is for the Indonesian men, it was seen as point scoring. Like you got a golden ticket if you had, a Western woman. It was seen as like advantageous to have a Western woman that you were in a dating relationship with. However, it wasn't really an equal relationship. They had a lot more respect for their own women. They respected the women of their culture because they believed that their women were kind of virtuous and behaved appropriately. Whereas Western women, from their perspective, didn't behave very well. They were too forwards, too adventurous. They were out after 6 o'clock at night, so they had very different standards. And when I lived in France 25 years ago, I dated a Frenchman very briefly, and again there was a very similar thing. It was seen as almost not a serious relationship. Now obviously 25 years later, and now we're living in such international communities, maybe these differences don't show up in such a strong way.
Wow.
But there's a phenomenon of like men meeting women from different cultures and finding the relationships easier. I know of men who said, women from my own culture are too confrontational. I prefer women who are more loving and more passive, and so they look for a particular culture to engage in their relationships with. So I do also think, like, given that we are, an expat community and we're all talking about love and connection and stuff, how do you get into a cross-cultural relationship where the culture almost isn't a big deal? Like, how do we relate as actual people and kind of throw our culture off, not wear our culture and where people can just see each other as real people and make decisions that way.
Amazing. Thank you, Mrs. M.
Just a couple of thoughts. I don't know if anyone, oh yeah, in fact, Victoria's saying, agree with Louisa on this cross-cultural thing. I'm a bit direct, you know.
Yeah.
Because, like men who come from a tradition that maybe isn't so direct, they might actually translate Victoria's directness as her being loose or too free.
Yeah, and men want the best of both worlds, don't they? They want to marry their mum in some ways, and they want to marry the other types of people that they've been adoring all their lives. I will come back to you in just a moment, Maria. We've got this has been such an amazing show this morning with people sharing themselves.
I've got to go, but I love you all.
All right, Mrs. M, thank you so much.
Love you.
Your input this morning. I think Gary's still chuckling away. Look at this. Nunu took my breath away here on this show virtually. Isn't that lovely? He is a handsome fella, and I am interviewing him later on today for an Expats Portugal special. So you get another chance to look at him, nom de plume there. I do love these wonderful. I'm a romantic. You're right, Pete. I'm a romantic at heart. I do wash before a date. Throughout my life, Joao F says, it seems I've always got attracted to women with a good, charming laughter and expressive face, and who could look me in the eyes. That's lovely. Thank you for sharing, everybody, your heartfelt thoughts, motivations, feelings here this morning. After 50 years of marriage, trust and kindness is the foundation of success. Now, who wouldn't want that in a relationship built on trust and kindness? That's lovely, Paul. Thank you very much. So last word to you, Maria, on this. I think we need a part 2, don't we, to look more at relationships?
Yeah, that's true. One of the things that I think is that when we go on dates, we always, get dressed, and sometimes we're not our authentic selves. Yes. And throughout the years, if you end up getting married or dating for a long time, somehow your true self is going to show up. So you might as well show yourself as you are.
Yes.
On the first date, just be authentic, because it's so exhausting not to be authentic. Right?
Yeah, isn't it? What a brilliant thing to share. Yes, so true. Yes.
So authenticity is something to go for. Authenticity, vulnerability, and just, be yourself whenever you go.
That's amazing, because we are dealing with a certain sort of demographic here, and we've talked about this before in terms of physical, mental fitness, Maria, and how it is, people accept certain things as they get older. Now, it's just possible from what you've said there that as people get older, they're not tired because they're getting older. They might be tired because they're just carrying the weight of a personality that isn't really theirs.
That's true.
Could that be the case?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yes. Yes. Because it's exhausting not to be yourself, because you have to shield yourself from, from you.
Yes.
You see, and if you show up as you are, you're going to bring forward into your life someone that is going to accept you for exactly what you are.
Let's hope so. That's amazing. That's amazing. Uncle Krusty here as well this morning. Hey, Uncle Krusty. And other lurkers who've been brought forward to share their thoughts on relationship. Hi, Carl, Louisa, Maria, and the Gumper Gang. Thankful today for my relationship. So beautiful. Nicely done, Uncle Krusty. A Thanksgiving message. Thankful for your relationship with Auntie Luna. We love her too. Through our journey here in Portugal, we've met the challenge and successes together. That's beautiful, isn't it? Yes. If we are not authentic, we will be falling for someone else. Yes, if we're not authentic with each other. That's true, isn't it? You fall in love with a projection or an idea of.
That's true. That's true.
That like button has been smashed. Thank you for that reminder, T-Duck. Good on you, mate. And just thank you, everybody, for your wonderful comments. And sorry if I didn't get to all of them. Cultural differences matter. Most of my friends are male, and I get to hear a lot. Me, as a friend, is a very different thing to dating them. I know this as well. That's true, isn't it? That's an interesting insight as well there. Thank you very much, Nubianet. Maria, we've gone way over time. Thank you. You've been very generous with your time. We're 11 minutes past 10. We should have finished by now, but I'm so glad we didn't. And,
oh, my God.
You shared with us what you shared today. And I'll tell you what, I think a part 2 is in order. So we look forward to seeing you next month as well. I'll tell you what's exhausting. Stupidity. I have no tolerance. Oh, nom de plume. Come on, cheer up. It's Thanksgiving Day. Maybe forgive those people who may have wronged you in that way today. Love to all you authentic Gumpers. Gotta go. We all have. Maria, thank you so much. Bye for now.
Beijinhos. Bye. Thank you.
Beijinhos. Abraços. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao. Beijinhos.
blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.